Bangladesh stands on a knife's edge. A former titan of South Asian politics now faces a death sentence. An exiled dynasty fights for survival, and a volatile nation hurtles toward elections under lockdown. From courtroom cheers to street-side explosions, the country is spiralling into its most dramatic reckoning since independence, history turning, fast and unforgiving. Bangladesh has entered a new and volatile chapter. Ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, once one of South Asia's most influential leaders, has been sentenced to death in absentia for ordering a violent crackdown on last year's student-led uprising, the bloodiest political unrest the country has seen since the 1971 War of Independence.
For all these 3 counts, we have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
Inside a packed Dhaka courtroom, families of victims erupted in cheers as the verdict was read. Outside, crowds fell to their knees in prayer, a dramatic end to a months-long trial held under extraordinary security. Hasina, now 78, fled to India in August 2024 at the peak of the uprising. In an emailed statement on November 17th, she condemned the judgment as a rigged tribunal designed to erase the Awami League and eliminate Bangladesh's last elected prime minister. The interim government, led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, called the ruling historic, but urged calm, insisting it would respond decisively to any signs of disorder. Minutes after the verdict, Dhaka formally requested that India extradite Hasina and former Interior Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal, also sentenced to death. New Delhi said only that it had noted the verdict and would engage constructively, offering no clear position. Tensions were already high ahead of the ruling. Police clashed today with protesters demanding the demolition of what remains of Hasina's father's historic residence, much of it destroyed during last year's chaos. Over the past 72 hours, Bangladesh has been shaken by at least 30 crude bomb blasts and 26 vehicles torched, though no casualties were reported. Security forces, police, paramilitary units and Border Guard Bangladesh have locked down key government sites across Dhaka and major cities. The verdict comes just months before February's elections, with Hasina's son warning there could be unrest if the Awami League's election ban is not lifted. The UN estimates up to 1,400 dead and thousands wounded, mostly from gunfire, during last year's protests that paralysed the nation and hit Bangladesh's crucial garment industry, one of the world's largest exporters. Tonight, a nation of 170 million faces deep uncertainty, a former leader condemned, a divided public on edge, and a volatile election season fast approaching. Bangladesh's economy, once a success story, suffered severe shocks during the COVID-19 pandemic. Lockdowns disrupted supply chains and pushed inflation to record highs, creating a cost of living crisis. On December 10, 2021, the United States imposed sanctions on the Rapid Action Battalion and 7 officers, accusing them of hundreds of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings since 2009, according to a US Treasury statement on that date. Despite the sanctions and economic strain, Bangladesh's growth rebounded. The country registered 2% GDP growth, powered mainly by garment exports and remittances, as widely reported in global economic coverage during 2023-2024. But inequality widened. The richest 10% held over 40% of national income. Hasina received several awards for climate leadership, including the UN's Champion of the Earth, and was credited internationally for disaster preparedness and handling the Rohingya refugee crisis beginning in 2017. These accolades were widely reported at the time by UN News and global development organizations. Yet, critics argued that her government's crackdown on dissent overshadowed the country's developmental gains. Then comes the most dramatic part for the daughter of Bangladesh's founding president, and it is as by mid-2024, Bangladesh was in upheaval. Student-led demonstrations erupted over civil service quotas, unemployment, and broader grievances with governance. Clashes intensified. Hundreds were reported dead across weeks of unrest, according to domestic media reporting during July and early August 2024. Under mounting pressure, Hasina resigned and fled the country on August 5, 2024, ending her tenure as Bangladesh's longest-serving Prime Minister. Her departure marked the collapse of the most dominant political era since Bangladesh's independence. From the ashes of her family's assassination to the pinnacle of global recognition, and finally to exile and conviction, Sheikh Hasina's arc remains one of the most complex political stories of the last half-century. To her supporters, she is the builder of modern Bangladesh. To her critics, she presided over democratic decay. Sheikh Hasina's political life began in the shadow of national trauma. After the 1975 military coup that assassinated her father, Bangladesh's founding president, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, nearly her entire family was killed. Only she and her sister, who were abroad, survived. This tragedy laid the foundation of her political identity and cemented her ties with the Awami League, the party her father founded. She emerged as the party's leader in the early 1980s. By 1986, Hasina won 3 seats in the parliamentary elections and became leader of the opposition, with international media outlets frequently referring to her as the most formidable challenger to military ruler Hussein Mohammad Ershad. Hasina became a key figure in the 1990 mass uprising, which brought down Ershad and restored parliamentary democracy. Though she lost the 1991 election, she again took the role of leader of the opposition, positioning herself at the center of Bangladesh's newly revived democratic contest. Her breakthrough came in 1996, when the Awami League won the general elections after 2 decades out of power. During this first term, Hasina secured several landmark agreements.
The first in the list was the Ganges Water Sharing Treaty with India in 1996, widely reported at the time by regional newspapers. Another critical agreement, the Chittagong Hill Tracts Peace Accord, was also signed in 1997, ending a decades-long insurgency. Many early investments in the field infrastructure and social welfare were also made during the period.
Despite these achievements, her government faced allegations of corruption, fierce street protests, and political violence. After losing the 2001 election, she returned once again to the opposition. The early 2000s were marked by one of the most violent chapters in Bangladesh's political history. On August 21, 2004, Hasina survived a grenade attack that killed more than 20 Awami League supporters, a moment widely reported by international outlets at the time. The BNP-Awami League rivalry spiraled into intense street violence, boycotts, and deadlock. In 2007, a military-backed caretaker government assumed control amid political chaos. Hasina was briefly jailed on corruption charges before being released later that year. Hasina returned to power with a landslide victory in the December 2008 election. beginning a 15-year stretch that would reshape Bangladesh's economy.
During Hasina's second term, GDP growth pushed past 6% year after year, signaling a faster-moving economy. Bangladesh's garment export industry expanded sharply, cementing its position as a global manufacturing hub. The Padma Bridge mega-project advanced steadily, becoming a symbol of national ambition and connectivity. Major investments in power generation and rural electrification broadened access to electricity across the country.
However, during this period, human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, documented concerns about media restrictions and opposition arrests. These were widely referenced in international reporting throughout 2010-2014. The 2014 election, boycotted by the main opposition, gave Hasina a third term. The 2018 election, also marked by an opposition boycott, delivered the Awami League 96% of parliamentary seats, as reported by major global media outlets on the day of the result. In the controversial 2024 election, Hasina secured a sweeping victory after banning key opposition parties and jailing or sidelining their leaders. With the Awami League running virtually unchallenged, voter turnout collapsed, and international observers condemned the vote as neither free nor fair. During her rule, critics accused her of authoritarian consolidation, enforced disappearances, and weakening democratic institutions. The 2024 crackdown deepened public anger, fueling the student-led uprising that would eventually topple her government in 2025 and trigger the political chaos now gripping the country.